Radha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langaite girimit kripatam ham vande Shri Guru Dinatharine Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Jai Gurudev. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Second chapter, 39 shloka we'll do. Please repeat. Esha te bihita sankhye, Esha te bihita sankhye, Buddhir yoge tu imam shranu, Buddhir yoge tu imam shranu, Buddhya yukto yaya partha,
Buddhaya yukto yaya partha
Karma bandham prahasyasi.
karma bandham prahasyasi.
Any volunteers who can read the translation? So this is a little big purport, so we'll break into pieces and we'll discuss. So if somebody can start, and then different people can take turns thereafter.
I
Okay,
can
I can.
start. I can
Yeah,
start.
yes,
Hare
please.
Krishna. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus far, I have described the knowledge to you through analytical study. Now, listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pratha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Purport. According to Nirukti or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in detail, and Sankhya refers to the philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on the sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the son of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principle were for sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived by seeking kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at a sacrifice or wisdom and duty. Even at a sacrifice of wisdom and duty. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individual in the future because all of us are individual souls eternally. We simply change our body dress in different manners, but actually, we keep our individuality even after liberation from bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna, and this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya. In terms of the Nirukti dictionary, this Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the Lord Kapil. Kapil, by the true Lord Kapil. The incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devhuti, it is clearly explained by him that the Purusha of the Supreme Lord is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyer. This mentality is dragged to the last point of the liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratificatory illusion. And it is thereafter and it is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, thereby fulfilling the search after ultimate truth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is a long purport. It has still few more paragraphs, but we will just discuss till this first paragraph of the purport and the translation. We'll just spend a few minutes to understand this. Excuse me. So Krishna is himself taking a pause and changing by telling Arjun how he has been answering his questions. Arjuna asked a few questions because he was not able to figure out if it's the right thing to go into the battle. And he gave a pretty nice picture of what all things could happen and how he didn't feel this is the right decision at this point. And Krishna started to explain to Arjun from a perspective which we call Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya is analysis, Sankhya. So here it is mentioned in the purport, Prabhupada is saying Nirukti or Vedic dictionary. So this is an etymological um, dictionary from Nirukti, from which we understand where the words came from. And Sankhya, it is said, it means that which describe things in detail, to analyze the situation. That is, in simple words, we can understand Sankhya. So, analysis of the body and the soul and the different elements. That is what Krishna was mentioning, how the body is not eternal and it's temporary, while the soul is eternal and permanent. And therefore, Krishna makes Arjuna understand how this very basic concept of self realization or Atmagyan can be applied to different situation, even in the situation where Arjun was thinking about war and killing. So very much we can use. So that's how Krishna is starting, and then that particular section is called as Sankhya Yoga. And in the last uh, class, which was a couple of weeks ago, we discussed how Krishna was telling Arjun, inspiring Arjun to do karma, but that was more of sakam karma. Sakam karma means understanding that these um, activities or actions which Arjun is going to perform will actually have positive results which Arjun can enjoy. Now Krishna is saying, I have described through analytical knowledge. Now listen as I explain in terms of working without fruitive results. So now nishkam karma. So many times you will see people, they think that Bhagavad Gita, what does it say? It says work and don't think about results. So that's not the best way to explain what Bhagavad Gita's teachings are. But yes, certainly one of the important aspects which Bhagavad Gita um, shares the wisdom uh, is Nishkam Karma Yoga. So, working without fruitive results. So, this is what Krishna is going to be describing in subsequent shlokas. So, Prabhupada in the purport, he is mentioning uh, that yoga means to connect. So, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma, Sakama Karma, Buddhi Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, um, Ashtanga Yoga. All these different types of yogas are there, but what does yoga word means? It means to connect from the material to the spiritual, from the temporary to the permanent. And one of the very important aspects of yoga is controlling do's and don'ts. So yam niyam, these are the first steps. So do's and don'ts. So this do's and don'ts help one in controlling the mind and controlling the senses. So here it is mentioned yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal to fight was based on how. So, first chapter, when Arjun is analyzing whether he has to fight or not, he's analyzing based upon what will be in accordance with dharma and going to give me happiness. That was one of his arguments, that it may not give me happiness. And that's why he did not want to fight. Um, but that happiness, we have to understand, is everybody is looking for happiness. Every single living entity. Anandamayo bhyasat. That's what the Brahma Sutras or the Vedanta Sutras explain. So one has to understand that happiness can be material happiness or spiritual happiness. If we are only thinking about enjoyment of the senses or enjoyment in the material realm, that will give us temporary material happiness, which is very tiny and cannot satisfy us completely. But if we are understanding our spiritual nature, understanding the science of spirituality, then one can advance and get spiritual happiness, which can be eternal and can be ever increasing happiness. So that is where Bhagavad Gita brings us to when we are following these teachings. So in first chapter, Arjun was only thinking from material perspectives, and he was analyzing whether killing his family members, it'll bring sinful reactions, distress, and not much happiness he could sense. So he was thinking that it's not appropriate for him to do so. Especially he was attached to his grandfather Bhishma and his guru Drona, but even other family members he was quite attached. And Krishna explains to him how dharma or duty has to be focused in that particular situation, in doing what a kshatriya is meant for. And they had already made attempts to avoid the war, and it was inevitable because of the attitude of Duryodhan. And in that situation, they had to fight, and because it is a spiritual activity now, because Krishna is saying and Arjuna is doing it not because of selfish desires, he must do it in the mood of nishkama karma. And the attitude of nishkama karma is what Krishna will be discussing in subsequent shlokas. Um, so continuing on the purport, it is mentioned here that descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya. So this is what I was saying, that in the beginning of this chapter, when we are discussing about soul, the qualities and properties of the soul, the Atma, and the connection between the body and the soul, all this is within the um, concept of Sankhya Yoga. And this is described in more detail in Srimad Bhagavatam by Kapila Muni, who was the son of Devahuti. Mother Devahuti, great personality, and she had Supreme Lord appear to her as Kapila. So this Kapil Muni is actually very, very powerful, because in such a young age he was able to give the whole discourse of the Sankhyan philosophy and much more to his mother. And there is another Kapila who gives an atheistic philosophy of Sankhya, who sometimes people get confused with. So Prabhupada is clarifying here that that Kapila is different. That is atheist, and we don't need to go into discussing that, since many of us may not even be familiar with this atheist Kapil. But the theist Kapil, the one who is um, mentioned in the scriptures is the one who is bona fide. And then Prabhupada in this shloka is mentioning about the Supreme Lord and Prakriti. How the Supreme Lord is, he creates. So, Supreme Lord is active and he creates by looking over the Prakriti. So, he glances over the Prakriti. This is also explained in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam, that how the material nature, how the creation happens, how the material nature comes, how the Lord glances over the Prakriti and impregnates with so many different living entities, and how the life actually originates. So all these things are given in detail in the scriptures. And then Prabhupada is mentioning that as one is advancing in the journey, coming in the journey of yoga, connecting to the eternal Supreme Lord, and getting more and more, um, you know, detached from the material world, there is one last step where one is still at a risk of getting attacked by this material energy, and that is thinking oneself to be able to merge in the Supreme Lord, and that distracts people from the spiritual journey, and they start thinking that they can actually merge with the Supreme and become God. So that is being refuted here, that that is not appropriate for a spiritualist. A spiritualist at the highest level understands that I am an individual, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. I have my own individuality, and when I am engaged in the service of the Supreme, that is the highest level, because the competition is happening between the servants who will serve more. Krishna is wanting to serve his devotees, and the devotees are wanting to serve Krishna and not wanting any service from Krishna. So, this is called as a transcendental competition. It's a transcendental or divya uh, competition between the two, and this is happening all the time, and this is very, very fulfilling, blissful, and provides maximum happiness to the devotees. But if one is in an attempt to merge with the Supreme and become um, God, if that is the attempt or path one is taking, that can derail one progress, and one may slow down and may have to take much longer. This is going to be explained in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, but Prabhupada is giving us tidbits from the future chapters in the purports here itself. That way we can make connection and can understand. So this is what is being mentioned in this particular paragraph. We will discuss more as we read these paragraphs. But any questions or any comments based upon what we just read? First, the first we read the translation, and then the first paragraph of the purport. Anyone would like to share anything or ask any questions from this so far? Okay, otherwise we will continue, and devotees can just unmute and share if they want to share anything. Who would like to read the next paragraph? Anyone available?
I can read.
Yes, please.
Arjuna has from this which paragraph?
Yes,
Arjuna has यही वाला ना?
Anji. Arjuna has already.
Okay, okay. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Sishas te ham sadi sadi ma Tvam Prapannam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. This, this Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in the other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddhi Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. Thus, the Buddhi Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya mentioned herein has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga enunciated by the imposer Kapila. One should not therefore misunderstand that the Sankhya yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya, nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time, nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by the Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But even the Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. Here, Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in the Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yoga, uh, Prathak Balam Pravadanti na
Pandita.
Panditas. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti Yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to the Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification for achieving results in the term of family or material happiness. Buddhi Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for reading. Okay. So, in this particular paragraph of the purport, Arjun has already accepted Krishna as spiritual master by surrendering onto him. So this was in the beginning of the second chapter, seventh shlok, where he says, Shishyasteham, I am your Shishya. Please accept me as your disciple and please instruct me, like that. And Prabhupada is mentioning Krishna is telling Arjun working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. So in this particular section, Karma Yoga is being taught, like we said, Nishkam Karma Yoga. And Krishna is guiding everybody. So here Prabhupada is quoting from the 10th chapter. So 10th chapter, this is the Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita, which means four essential shlokas which have the whole knowledge, the essential knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. So from that, Prabhupada is mentioning that the Supreme Lord in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So that Lord is always guiding us, and connecting with that Lord and having a loving relationship, loving service, that is devotional service. So that is the highest goal, and that is the best means of becoming happy. So here Prabhupada is saying that practicing this devotional service is Buddhi Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga word can be used in different situation in different manners. So Buddhi means intelligence, Yoga means to connect with the Supreme Lord, and in different contexts, sometimes it can be used in Karma Yoga, sometimes as Bhakti Yoga. So depending on the context, Prabhupada in the purport explains how it is being used and applied in this setting. So here Prabhupada is saying Buddhi Yoga in this verse is devotional service, and word Sankhya mentioned herein has nothing to do with atheistic Sankhya Yoga. So this we have discussed, that there is Sankhya Yoga which can be either theistic. Theistic means it's in accordance with scriptures, but then it can also be atheistic. Where did it come from? So many times people want to do their own things and not follow scriptures, but they will use some sections of the scriptures, some philosophy, and then they'll put their own ideas, and they will come up with different theories or recommendations or philosophies. So we don't take those. We take original philosophy from the scriptures. We don't take from such atheistic and unbonafide people, because the knowledge they may be giving may appear to be, oh, very very knowledgeable, but actually it doesn't have much substance. So if you read Srimad Bhagavatam in the 7th canto, where there is a story of Prahlad and Hiranyakashyap, some of the sections which Hiranyakashyap is speaking to his mother, to his brother's wife, who were crying after the death of Hiranyaksh. Some of the sections, when he's speaking to them, it may appear, oh, Hiranyakashipu, who is the father of Prahlad, is speaking such a knowledgeable science. This is so nice, so knowledgeable. But if you see, he was not practicing in his own life, and even in that, the philosophy which he's speaking, sometimes it may appear to be making sense, but then other times when he's speaking, it actually is not making sense. So sometimes such people take things from scriptures here and there and start sharing the knowledge which appear to untrained ordinary people. They won't know, they will just take whatever it is. So such people are not to be followed. So therefore Prabhupada clearly is mentioning in the purport, because many times people see things written in Bhagavad Gita and other people selling their own philosophies in books, or even writing Bhagavad Gita and then giving their own understanding, or connecting it with their philosophy. Such processes are actually not going to transform the heart and not going to be of much use actually. And therefore atheistic Sankhya and the actual theistic Sankhya, Prabhupada is clearly differentiating between them. And Krishna also differentiates. So this shloka uh, is going to come in subsequent chapters, fifth chapter and so on. It says how Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga if somebody is thinking they are different, then that person is bala. Bala means is childish. Na panditaha, not very intelligent. So like that, it is something which Krishna will be touching up in future. And in the last section, last paragraph of this chapter, Prabhupada is again mentioning that one should understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness. So there is Karma Yoga, which has Sakama Karma, Nishkama Karma, and there is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means devotional service. So you are doing actions in both, whether you are doing Karma Yoga or you are doing Bhakti Yoga, you have to do actions in both. In Jnana Yoga, you have to focus on gaining knowledge and connecting with the Supreme. So all yoga processes are going to connect with the Supreme, but different emphasis is there. So in Bhakti Yoga, the emphasis is connecting with love. And for expressing that love, one may do whatever is needed. So a mother loves the child, and for doing anything for the child, the mother will cook for the child, the mother will give the child a bath, dress the child nicely. So many different things the mother will do. um, on the other hand, there is another person who likes to cook and may cook for the child, or may like to dress up the child very nicely, and that person may help out with in that way. So they are attracted to the activity, and then they are doing it for the child, while the mother is attracted towards the child and doing it for the benefit of the child, no matter whether she likes doing it, doesn't like doing it, but for the child, because it's going to be good for the child, she likes to do it. Same thing is in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means for connecting with the Supreme Lord, whatever action I need to perform, I will perform. That is Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga means I like to do a certain activity and I will do it and then offer it to the Lord. Like, for example, I like cooking, so I'll cook it and offer to the Lord. Or I want to be go in particular profession. So I'll do that, and then whatever results I get, I will offer it to the Lord. So Karma Yoga is that, and Bhakti Yoga is I love the Lord, and what is needs to be done for that, I will execute. So there is a difference between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, but in both aspects you are working and you're doing it to connect with the Supreme Lord. Is it making sense? How many of you understood?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Because
Yes,
sometimes
Prabhuji. But I'm confused a little bit between the theist. Maybe I misheard because I was driving. I'm confused between the theist Sankhya Yoga, not the atheist one, but the other one, and the Bhakti Yoga. Did you say are they related or not related?
yeah, they're the same. There's
Okay,
Krishna is saying one who makes distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, that person is Bala, बच्चा है वो.
okay, okay,
Na Pandita. He's not very intelligent. So that is what will come in free subsequent sections. So we'll discuss that also. But Prabhupada is just bringing in the purport, mentioning that the goal of Sankhya Yoga is to bring the person to the platform of Bhakti Yoga.
okay, okay. All right. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Any other questions anybody has? So this purport summarizes whatever has happened previously, and also it kind of had some technical points which were brought up here, um, and it is laying the foundation for what is yet to come. So next shloka and subsequent shlokas are going to be on Nishkam Karma Yoga, where Krishna will be explaining Arjun to how to act, but not be attached to the results. Don't do it just because you are going to enjoy the kingdom, or just because by dying you're going to go to higher planets, and you'll have a very good destination. Those kind of incentives are okay for those who are doing sakam karma yoga, but sakam karma yoga is not the highest. Nishkam is higher, and then of course bhakti yoga is the highest. So those will be coming, and Krishna will be sharing more. We can take some questions if anybody else has some questions. Any questions, comments, any points? I'll read the translation again in the meantime. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pratha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from bondage of works. So, karma bandham prahasyasi. So each one of us are actually being bound in karma. Whatever action we are performing, we are getting the reaction, and that reaction we have to face in future. And when we face that reaction, then while facing that, we will respond in a certain manner, and that response will actually give certain set of karmic reactions, and we'll be facing that. So this cycle keeps on going, and therefore it causes bandhan or bondage. We get bound by this. So that bondage has to be broken, and this process of bhakti yoga actually can break it. You can free yourself from the bondage of works. So this bondage, one can free oneself if one follows this. So that is how Krishna is starting this. Okay, I'll take a pause. Anybody else would like to share anything or ask any questions or bring up some discussion points? Okay, since nobody has anything, we'll go to the next shloka. We'll not be able to do the whole shloka because it needs some time, but what we'll do is we'll just read the translation. So and we'll touch upon it a little bit, and then to next week we'll discuss in more detail. So Krishna is saying in the next shloka, in this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So the shloka, very famous shloka, Neha Vikramanashvasti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Swalpa. What is the meaning of Swalpa? Anybody can tell? Swalpa.
Minute. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, minute or small or little. So swalpa apyasya dharmasya, even slight, small amount of application of this, small amount of progress in this path can trayate mahato bhayat, releases one, protects one from the mahato bhayat. Bhayat means great danger. Mahato is very great. So even small advancement on this path which Bhagavad Gita is giving, which Krishna is providing, will protect one from the greatest types of fear. So this is how Krishna is saying the next shloka. And then Krishna is saying there is no loss or diminution. Basically, you are not going to be at the losing end no matter what you do. Even if you do little, small amount of reading of the Bhagavad Gita today, or small amount of time in a day you're devoting to spiritual activities in the Bhagavad Gita and hearing and learning about the Gita, that will take you a long way. Like, for example, if there is a child who is needing to have 50% max before they pass to the next grade, and they don't get 50, let's say they get 45%, and the teacher is like, oh, no, I cannot do anything more. 45 is the maximum I did, so you failed. You have to repeat the class or repeat the test. So the child is okay. And then he takes the test again. And this time the child has to start again with from zero and get 50% marks. The child can't say, oh, 45% I got last time, so maybe this time if I get anything, you can add it to the previous 45% and the sum of both can be counted. It doesn't work like that. You have to again start from zero. But in spiritual life, it doesn't work like that. How it works? Whatever you have accumulated, the spiritual credits, the sukriti, they remain with you. You may forget tomorrow that you had done some spiritual activity, but Krishna will remember. Krishna will always remember. And we'll discuss the examples. There are different examples of personalities who um, exemplifies Krishna's mercy, that how Krishna was so merciful and they were able to advance. But the point I want to emphasize is that this path, this process of Bhagavad Gita, learning, understanding, applying, is not a cheap path. It is not something which we should take it lightly, but actually we should take it very seriously. If we take it seriously and we work actively, then we'll see the results manifesting, we'll experience it. Nothing good happens passively. If we passively just try to do things, it may not actually give us the desired results. But if we are actively doing, it can actually give us the desired results. So, in this particular shloka, Prabhupada also quotes in the purport one shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, which I want to read. त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर् भजन् अपाक्वो अथापते ततो यदि यत्राक्वा वा भद्रम् अबुदमुष्य किं को वार्थ आप्तो अभजतां स्वधर्मतः. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or as the Christian says, what profiteth a man if he gains the whole world yet suffer the loss of his eternal soul? So if one is able to gain the whole world, but one is not spiritually advanced, one doesn't have Atma Gyan, one doesn't have the Gyan for Atma, then what is the use? Even Christians, they are having it in their literatures. And in Bhagavatam, this shloka is very famous. It emphasizes on how if one has dedicated a certain amount of time for spiritual activities, for the service of the Lord, and one is not able to to do other things, still that person will have a lot to gain in future. And a person who's doing all the other things but not able to dedicate enough time to connect with the Supreme, that person has missed out on the opportunity which one had in this human life. Because human life is the common pathway for one to advance spiritually. Once this human life is gone, we don't know what life we'll have next time. Maybe it may be an animal life. So in animal life, one cannot understand spirituality. All the progress has to be made in the human life. And then if one is able to advance in human life or even take to this process in human life and even follow slightly, may not be completely. So one will actually start where one left off. So coming back to the example of the test, if one scores 45%, the next time one has to start with zero. But in spiritual life, if one has made 45% progress, next birth one starts from 45. It never goes away. Whatever spiritual credits you accumulate, they stay. So let's be serious, sincere in reading Bhagavad Gita, applying in our life, praying intensely to the Lord, and we will actually be um, guided appropriately to take the process very seriously and sincerely. So I'll stop here. Considering the time, don't have too much time left. But if anybody has any question, we can take that before we end. Okay, looks like nobody has any questions. So we'll discuss the shloka in detail next week. We'll end here. Thank you very much. ग्रंथराज भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे